This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 540.
I program my own computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology. The technology.
Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. We have one next weekend. It is the Uganda Website Projects Competition 2024. Very interesting. I'm just going to read this from the website here. The Uganda Website Projects Competition 2024 is themed Problem Solving with WordPress. It is a dynamic next-gen WordCamp where students will showcase their innovative WordPress-powered projects under two categories, both for primary and secondary school and one for post-secondary vocational schools. Pretty cool. So if you are in that part of the world and you can make it there, I mean, I would totally go if I was closer. I think it's kind of far for me to get there, but it looks pretty neat. Check it out on the website. By all means, let me know how that is if you do attend. I would love to hear about that as well. Pretty cool. That's it for the upcoming events. Moving on, segment one in the news. One thing to talk about here, WordPress 6.6 release candidate 1 has been released, and so it's out there for testing. And speaking of testing, I want to put this out there because I feel like it's time to kind of jump back into that boat myself. If you want to test, you're not sure where to start, there are two links in the show notes. There's a detailed guide that walks you through the testing of 6.6. And then if you're totally new to testing, there's also a guide to general testing guide on how to get set up to do that as well. And I'm sure that your help will be greatly appreciated across the board. So check that out as well. And that's it for the news. Yeah, moving on, segment 2, the meat and potatoes of this week's episode. All right, after hearing so much about the WordPress Playground over the past few months, and again, a lot at WordCamp Europe, I decided it was time to check it out, to see what all the hubbub was. So first of all, what is it? And per what I found out there, WordPress Playground is an innovative project by the WordPress team that leverages WebAssembly to allow WordPress to run entirely in the browser. Now that sounds great, but wait, really? Could it really be that simple? No button to install, no name or database to create, no accounts, no strong passwords? Come on, it just sounded too good to be true. So how does that work? Does it really do what it says it does and makes it that simple? So I did some research on it actually does. You go to the website, the URL, https://playground.wordpress.net, and bam, there you have it. WordPress in a browser. It's really quite shocking to see this work. It takes less than 10 seconds to load up as a default installation. And it's right there. It's legit. You can install themes, you can install plugins. So of course, me being me, I started poking around. And at first I was gonna right away upload my themes and my plugins, but I decided to, I found an area in the top right of the browser where it shows the PHP and the WordPress version. Clicking that, you can customize the playground. And what you can do with customization, you can pick storage type, none, browser, meaning it stores in the browser, or device, it stores locally on your computer, and that's in beta. You can pick a PHP version from 8.3 all the way down to 7.0. You can also pick the WordPress version, 6.6 beta 3, 6.5, 6.4, and all the way further down as well. I didn't make any changes at first, and I'll tell you about coming back to that in a second. I just left it alone, and then I went ahead to see about adding a plugin, see how this goes. And I got stopped because it turns out I had an ad blocker on. Turning that off and then refreshing the page, which is kind of risky because, again, then everything went back to nothing. I didn't have anything there, but anyway. Turning the ad blocker off, I was back in business. It could see the next screens because my ad blocker thought something was going on with JavaScript, I think. Anyway, I could upload a plugin, no problem. But if I want to do something from the repo, there's a notice. It says network access is an experimental opt-in feature, which means you have to and you need to enable it to allow Playground to access the plugins, themes, directories. So you have to add some code somewhere within all of this to do that. I tried to add a second plugin locally, and then the site kind of crashed. And I realized the mistake there was I didn't I didn't tell WordPress Playground where to save any information, meaning in the browser. So I went back, didn't make a change to the settings. I set the storage to the browser, And then I installed the second plugin and it was fine. And I installed Hello Deli, which is a fork of my Hello Dolly. And I installed Gravity Forms. And this time, all was great. The same goes for uploading a theme. Locally worked just fine. I installed Beaver Builder and the pieces that I wanted to use. I created a new landing page by making that page primary page, adding a layout, and I was done. Pretty slick, honestly. Really kind of slick the way this all works, in my opinion. So, okay, let's dive into some pros, cons, and some use cases, just to kind of go over this real quick. Mind you, this is just a very top-level overview, but the pros, instant setup. Users really can spin up a WordPress environment without the complex installation or a config. It's pretty neat for demonstrations, tutorials, quick testing of plugins and themes, and that is really what a strong pro is. The portability aspect, it could be embedded into a website. You can make it a flexible tool for education purposes again, interactive documentation, so pretty neat. And it's isolated. Each instance of the playground runs in its own environment, so it won't affect any other instance. If you have multiple windows open, it's not going to make a difference there. It's more of a sandbox nature, so it's a very safe space for experimentation. The cons, of course, would be it's temporary, and that's by design. So once you do close the window and you clear out the cache, whatever, it's gone. That's how it's gone. I had read online that there were some iframe quirks. I heard about them, but I couldn't reproduce it. So I tried to figure out what was going on there, but I couldn't see that. And initially it seemed a bit slow when I was first testing this out, but then I realized I think it's because I didn't have storage being set to the browser itself. It wasn't saving anything anywhere. So it was kind of, I don't know, spinning its wheels a little bit. That could have been me. I don't know. It just seemed a bit slow. But once I changed it to store in browser, then it seemed to be a lot snappier. Also, there was a small hiccup where I couldn't get back to that settings area. I didn't know where it went, but then it came back. It was kind of weird. So now moving on to some use cases. Of course, number one, education and training. The Playground is an excellent tool, really is, to teach WordPress development, allow students to experiment without having to set up a local environment. When I taught WordPress Essentials, I always had to go in and create 25 sites for my students on my dev server, yada, yada. It was kind of a pain. This would be much easier. Okay. You can also do plugin and theme demos. Number two use case would be if you're a theme developer or a plugin developer, you really can do a live demo there and that users try it out directly in the browser. And number three, bug reporting and testing. Again, this would be a great place to do some testing here in an isolated environment. And if you do find a bug or that you're doing this, then you want to see if you can recreate that on an actual dev server or a live server, because that's going to be a little bit more realistic in the real world environments. Okay. Also, some last minute testing. Like I said, I've mentioned this already. I couldn't find a way back to changing the settings, but then it came back magically. I don't know. It was weird. Also, I did find in the settings or next to the settings tab was you can actually save your work. You can export the zip. You can also import a zip if you want to bring something back. You can import from GitHub. And lastly, I heard on the street being Courtney, that this is using SQLite, not MySQL. So some wonkiness might be expected because of that. The way it reads the database, it's not the same version of MySQL. It's SQLite. So that's kind of something to keep in mind as well. So again, pretty cool. I went over it. I spent, a couple hours with it, just poking around off and on during the day, in the last day or two, and neat. It really is neat. I can see a lot of potential in this, especially in education and in testing. So it's kind of interesting where this may go. I don't know exactly, but it does have a lot of potential. I just don't know exactly. I don't think I'll use it for more than just demoing and testing stuff, but that's just me. So if you're using it and you have some unique perspective, I would love to know. So let me know. So that leads me to segment 3, tip and tool of the week. Go test it. The tip is, and the tool is playground.wordpress.net. Go test and use it. And also maybe take some time now to do that along with WordPress 6.6 release candidate 1 and help the team out there as well. So that's it for this week. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@kitchensinkwp.com, or use that speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, become a Patreon, buy me a coffee. You can do that on the website. You want to sponsor the show, there's a form. Fill that out. I'll get right back to you. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right. Bye-bye.